Welcome to the Pat White Show.
So, if you get an opportunity, I would appreciate you clicking on the like if you like it, and subscribing if you want to, and apparently it'll help me out. Beyond that, hope you enjoy what I'm doing. Well, the art of cheerleading has been around probably more decades or more eons than people really think. It goes back many, many, many years. Cheerleading has been great, and there has been cheerleading competition, the kind of standard stuff that you see in high schools, the cheerleading squad, and in colleges, you see the cheerleading squad. There's national championships for cheerleading squads. And frankly, in regular cheerleading squads, actual cheerleading squads, you see a lot of guys. And the reason you do is because they're bases, as what we call them. And you see those flyers, the young ladies flying up in the air. You know, girls can't launch girls like that, but men can. And that's where they come in. So you look at Indiana University, Purdue University, or any of our local universities, their cheer squads are cheer teams. That's what they're there for. And they perform, and they're very good at what they do. But some years back, the National Football League decided, we need our own cheerleaders. Except they weren't really cheerleaders as you and I normally think of cheerleaders. They were dance squads, pom-pom squads. They come out in these tiny little uniforms and prance around the field and stand by the sidelines when the teams are introduced. Everybody goes "Rob," and some people go to the games to see the cheerleaders. As you know, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have become, infamous. I mean, movies about them, all sorts of stuff, dealing with those Cowboys. They are probably the champions of the league as far as cheerleaders go. But something new has come along. And in today's woke society, well, guess what they're putting on squads now? But you're saying, well, this is relatively new. This has never happened before. Let me take you back to the year 1979. That's a long time ago, right? Well, it turns out the Denver Broncos were marching onto the field, and lo and behold, one of the cheerleaders on the Denver Broncos cheer pom-pom team had hairy legs and a hairy chest. Look who it was. None other than Robin Williams. Robin Williams was a cheerleader for the NFL cheer squad, and I think it had something to do with the movie he was making or a show or whatever. But he did it on the field. And then bashedly, he did what he did, but it was a promotional gimmick. It was for, like I said, for his TV show or what he was doing. So, have there been men on squads? Yes. Well, here in the year 2025, the woke concept, because after all, the NFL teams have what? Gay pride flags on there, people kneeling for the national anthem, singing the black national anthem, all the woke stuff. Well, teams are introducing male, dancers. Not cheerleaders, folks, male dancers. Two of the latest are on the Minnesota Vikings team, but turns out that there's 18 male dancers on 11 or 12 of the NFL teams. And I mean, it's pervasive. It's on even the Indianapolis Colts. They haven't announced it yet. You haven't seen it yet. But yes, they're going to have male dancers on their squad. Now, I don't know how the girls on the team feel about that. Not sure. And frankly, it's not my job to ask them. But do we need male dancers along with the female dancers on professional football teams' fields? Traditionally, it's always been women because, they're trying to attract people to come to the games. So will male dancers attract other men to come to the games? I don't know. Not my call. But I can tell you this. We are getting into a new area. And what's the next thing we're liable to see? How about a female on a male football team? Has it happened before? More than once it has. Not in professional football, but in college, I believe it has. And I know it's happened in the high school ranks because Sophie Cunningham of the Indianapolis Fever was a kicker on her high school team when the original kicker got hurt or whatever. And I think she went 2 for 4 in her field goals. Can be done. But dancers, male dancers dancing with the women, my question is, do they use the same locker room? Don't know. And are we going to see a male dancer with the Dallas Cowgirls? They do call them the Dallas Cowgirls, do they not? They put a man on there, what are they going to call him? The dancing? I'm not sure what they're going to call him. But now you know, about 11 or 12 teams in the National Football League are all going to have guys dancing with the women. And that's what they're doing. Like it or not, things are changing. And if you don't like it, well, you can always cancel your season tickets and stay home and watch it on TV. If you do like it, your call. Just passing this along to you. The latest thing in the world of the National Football League, male dancers. Not cheerleaders, male dancers. Just saying. You probably heard about the big fight involving CBS and the fact that Stephen Colbert's show was, well, axed, done with, finished, kaput, gone. It's raised a big stink among certain people in the media, especially the late night hosts who are thinking, oh, I may be next. Well, they might be, because television is changing. But one thing you probably haven't heard about is a problem involving the TV show 60 Minutes. Now, I've been watching 60 Minutes for I can't tell you how many decades, and it goes back a long time. I remember the counterpoint discussions that happened back in the old days when they would have that on there. But the problem has now come down to one of their correspondents and their executive producer. You see, CBS was about to be sold to another organization, Skydance Media. And when that sale was announced, well, a little problem happened at CBS. It seems that Kamala Harris was being interviewed by CBS, and they ran a promo. And I remember sitting there watching it when it happened. Promo in the morning had her talking, Kamala Harris talking, saying one thing, and a later promo, same question, basically a different answer. Now, the CBS saying, well, that's pretty routine. We do that all the time. Stations do it. No, they don't. No, they don't. Frankly, to be honest, my opinion was they were altering the thing because Kamala Harris is known for her word salad, doesn't say nothing, but she says a lot of it. So they altered what she said, make her look good. Now, that resulted in Donald Trump filing a lawsuit. And that lawsuit was for big money. Well, ultimately, that lawsuit was settled. And Donald Trump ends up getting about $15 million toward his presidential library or whatever he plans to do with his money. But it also created a bigger problem at CBS. Because like I told you, Paramount was selling CBS to Skydance Media. And the head person of CBS was none other than a lady by the name of Sherry Redstone. And she sent out the edict and said, hey, everybody better toe the line because the FCC must approve the sale of CBS from Paramount to Sky Media. And they don't want anything to mess up that sale because, well, the FCC could squash the entire thing. So Sherry Redstone sent out an edict, especially to CBS, saying, hey, you guys don't do anything unless we tell you what to do. We're going to tell you what you're going to report. We're going to tell you what you can't report. And we're going to keep a close eye on you because we know that you're upset about what happened with Kamala Harris. And we want to keep you under control until this sale gets done. Well, the person who took great offense with that was none other than Leslie Stahl. Leslie Stahl she's been at CBS for like 3 decades. She's an old school journalist who became very upset and very indignant, saying, you can't tell us what to do. And to a degree, she is partially right. The problem is they're the people paying her salary. CBS sends her a big check every week or whatever their pay schedule is, and it's got a lot of zeros in it. And they're saying, hey, we want you to tone down what you do because I don't want you getting into a political fight or going after someone who has the power to tell the FCC not to have the deal go through. Was it pressure? Yes. But Leslie Stahl says, hey, you're destroying journalism. Well, here's the problem. Journalism isn't like the old journalism that I was trained in, because I went to journalism school back many years ago, and we were taught certain things. And especially the one thing we were taught was never in a story as you have the O, opinion. Tell the who, what, where, when, why, and how. That's what we were taught. Well, now, 60 Minutes, And the reporters now say, well, it's only right that we put our opinions in there because journalism has changed. Well, it may have changed, but has it changed for the better? Some would argue no. And frankly, I'd be one of those arguing. See, the problem is the job of a journalist is to tell a story, tell what's going on. Don't be siding with one side or the other side. Let the public decide that. Because back in the old days of Walter Cronkite, he read the news and let you decide the outcome. The only time I ever saw Walter opinionate, and I remember this a long time ago. This is back when TV news was in black and white, folks. Back in the days with Chet Huntley and David Brinkley. Well, Uncle Walter, he'd gone to Vietnam and saw what was going on, and one of his newscasts took off his glasses. And in a minute, he said, effectively, he said, this war in Vietnam is stupid. We're not going to win it, or something to that effect. Well, Lyndon Johnson, who was the president at the time, said, I've lost Walter. And Walter was, well, Uncle Walter. Everybody in America watched him because he told you the news. He didn't give sides, but he did. And this time he said, we ain't going to win. LBJ said, I've lost Walter. And when that happened, LBJ decided he was not going to run again. And he didn't. Ultimately, Jimmy Carter ran. We know how that worked itself out. But that's the way journalism used to be. You don't side with someone. You just tell the facts. Here they are. Let the public decide. Now, Leslie Stahl, she says journalists have a right to say what they're saying, and we don't want our freedom taken away. Your freedom's not being taken away. If you want to go out, be independent, do your own things, say your own stuff like independent journalists do. This is happening more and more in today's world, believe it or not. Reporters are leaving the likes of the New York Times and the Washington Post and LA Times, Chicago Tribune, call it whatever newspaper you want. And they're going out starting their own ventures, their own media. And they're going for other networks and other places they can go. Even podcasts are becoming the big thing for media people because they can say what they want to say. Let people watch it as they choose to. That's where real media is supposed to be. So, Leslie, I understand your concern, but you're working for someone, and that someone is writing a check to you. And as long as you're accepting that check and cashing it, which I presume you do, then you are beholden to them in one way, shape, or form. They tell you don't cover this, do cover that, whatever. They're your boss. You don't like it? Turn in your resignation, start your own network, or become a podcaster. Either way, you have to understand, journalism is who, what, where, when, why, and how. Never do you insert the O, opinion. And frankly, that has been the demise of journalism in today's world. Just my opinion, but I'm sticking to it. Recently, the President of the United States decided that Washington, D.C., which is not really a town in the grand scheme of things, it's a federal enclave. It was created by Congress, well, back in the old days when they were creating things, and they decided we're going to have a headquarters for the national government, and they created Washington, D.C., and it's federally controlled. Now, they allowed a mayor to be done. They have a mayor and a council and what have you, but it is not technically a state. And it's not really a guaranteed city because it's a federal enclave. But it operates that way. Well, as it turns out, Washington, D.C. has become somewhat lawless. The council passed rules and regulations that said anybody under a certain age, you can't put them in jail, you can't charge them with anything, well, for the most part. And they're running rampant. Gangs are showing up in Washington, D.C., carjacking people, robbing people, shooting people. And so the president said, hey, I'm going to bring in the feds and we're going to clean this place up. But the rules say because the executive office controls it, they can only do it for 30 days. After 30 days, the Congress has to say, okay, you can keep doing it. I don't think Congress is going to allow that to happen, but the next 30 days, the feds are running Washington, D.C., trying to get the scum off the streets and make things better. But there are people in Washington, D.C. who don't like the feds being on the streets. Apparently, they're happy with the crime or whatever they're happy with. One, The gentleman by the name of Sean Charles Dunn. I don't know if you've seen this or not. So Mr. Dunn ended up confronting some police officers and hurling some, well, four-letter epithets, if you will, at the officer. Called him a fascist or everything else you could think of. Now, Mr. Dunn was carrying apparently his lunch home, and it was in the evening. And he took it and yelled at the police officer, called him whatever, and took his lunch or dinner, whatever it was, tossed it at the officer, hitting him in the chest. It was a Subway sandwich, a foot long, it looks like. Not sure which Subway it was. I mean, I don't know if I'd throw away my Subway sandwich if I got if I got one I didn't like, I might think about it. But normally, I'm not going to throw away my Subway. So Mr. Dunn, immediately after hitting the police officer, turns and starts running. Now, when you turn and start running away from police officers, that's never a good thing. One, you've just committed a crime assaulting a police officer by throwing your Subway sandwich at him. Two, you're running away, evasion, as they call it. He was chased down by a number of police officers who were faster than he was, although he was wearing his walking shorts, and I'm sure those were, I think that maybe he was wearing Uggs or Birkenstocks, whatever he was wearing, and his Hawaiian shirt or whatever color that shirt was. But throwing your Subway at the police, never a good plan. Well, Mr. Dunn was arrested, as you might think, and the person running Washington, D.C. right now, the state's attorney, none other than Judge Janine Perot, she said, I've had enough. This gentleman's in trouble. Well, why is he in trouble? Well, one, you throw something at a police officer, you're looking at a felony. Two, here's the part that's interesting. Mr. Dunn is an attorney. He's an attorney for the Department of Justice. So here's a guy who's an attorney for the Department of Justice in the face of police officers trying to clean up the community in the Department of Justice, whose job it is to help get these things done and make sure justice is served. Yeah, he works for the DOJ. Well, he worked for the DOJ. That's right. Mr. Dunn has now been, dismissed. He's been punted. He's been sacked. And he's now been charged with a felony. Now, I don't know what the prosecutor's going to do in this case. This is a high-impact case as far as visibility goes. But serious crime? Not necessarily. So will a prosecutor follow through on a felony charge on this guy? And if he gets a good lawyer, the good lawyer is going to come in and say, no, you can't do this, can't do that. And they'll probably settle out of court, which is the standard situation. But now you know the person who threw the Subway sandwich at the police officer was actually a lawyer from the Department of Justice. Well, he was. He's now an unemployed lawyer, formerly the Department of Justice, facing a felony count for attacking a police officer. Little something you may not have known, but now you do. Welcome to the world, folks, and welcome to the streets of your U.S. capital, Washington, D.C. So have you seen the opportunity to watch those videos of those sorority girls and standing out in front of their sorority houses, dancing, cavorting, whatever you want to call it? Some of them look pretty almost similar. Similar style, similar dance, similar moves. Well, there's a lot of people out there saying, well, they're just paying homage to Sydney Sweeny. That's the young lady with the American Eagle jeans, puts on the jeans, sort of goes back to the old Brooke Shields days back in her era. But really, it's not really about that. There are some people going to say, well, they're talking about Sydney Sweeny and her jeans. Fine, they can say that. The truth of the matter is, any parent knows if you've got a daughter in college, this is about sorority rush. That's exactly what you're seeing, folks. These are sororities out there trying to say, come on, join our sorority, because look at all the cool stuff we do. Look at all the cool ladies we have and all the cool things that we do. And of course, you get the guys looking out there saying, hey, I want to be in a fraternity so we can go over and see these girls in the sorority. This is done by professional companies. There's companies that go around the United States that are basically choreographers. That's what they do. Because some of those dances you see on the videos on TV, They look eerily the same style, the same genre. That's because they're custom done. Now, those things were done a lengthy period of time ago because they have to come onto the campus, work out a contract, figure out the people they're going to have, find the best dancers, and they have to train them. They have to get them to know how to do all the same moves together. That takes time. So these films that you're seeing now on TV, they weren't produced a week ago. They were produced months ago and just getting ready for, well, the annual sorority rush. If you ever had a daughter in a sorority, you pretty well know the concept here. Which one do they want to go to? Which one is the most appealing? Which one has the nicest house? Whatever. But I can't tell you right now, you've been seeing those things on TV saying, oh, this is all about honoring Sydney Sweeny and her American Eagle jeans. This is about Rush. Sorority Rush, that's what's going on. Now, you don't see the guys doing this in fraternities. They look kind of stupid. But right now, that's the way you recruit, folks. That's how it works in sororities. Put on the big show, get people to say, hey, my daughter wants to join that sorority. That's what it is. That's how it works out. Now, maybe you understand it ain't necessarily Sydney Sweeney's jeans. It's about rushing a sorority in college. That's the game that's played, and this is how they do it. Let's be honest. We all love to go out to restaurants, right? You don't have to cook at home. You don't have to worry about doing the dishes. You go out to a restaurant, you let somebody serve you, somebody bring you the food, and after the year dinner's over, hey, you let them clean up, they give you the bill, you pay the bill, and you leave, right? Have a nice restaurant, you go out to have a nice time, you enjoy yourself, maybe you and your spouse. Sounds like a good plan, right? Date night, call it whatever you want. Well, down in Florida, a restaurant down there may, and I'm just saying may, have rolled up its welcome mat because based on what happened, and I'm going to show you the receipt from this restaurant so you can take a look at it for yourself if you don't believe it. But the individual who got the tab, he decided he was not going to leave a tip. And take a look at what this was. This is a restaurant called the Krusty Krab down in Florida. And the gentleman went in there and ordered a couple of items. One is a sandwich, which cost $5.50. The other was a pizza, $14 for this pizza, and a drink, a Dr. whatever it was. Total cost for those three items about $22. You're saying, well, okay, pizza, sandwich, drink, $22. He got the bill. And when the bill came, he looked at the receipt, ready to pay with his credit card, and it says $46.22 for something that costs $22. His bill was $46.22. Now, what happened? What was going there? He looked down the tabulated list of the prices of the items that he paid for. Yes, there was the sandwich. Yes, there was the pizza. But how about this? He was charged ice for his drink, 50 cents. A straw for his drink, 25 cents. Oh, and for that sandwich he had, he got a ketchup pack. That cost him 40 cents. And got a couple of tartar sauces, because I guess it was a fish sandwich or whatever it was. Got two of those, 40 cents a piece. Oh, he ain't done, folks. And then, well, you've got to eat. You've got to cut up the pizza. You got to eat. Well, the cost for his silverware, the restaurant billed him 75 cents for that little packet of, the plastic fork and the spoon. You get the little plastic packet, 75 cents. Oh, and the napkins he was given, well, the restaurant charged him $1.50 for his napkins. And you're going, you got to be kidding me. Well, I can tell you, folks, if you go to certain fast food restaurants and you want to order something individually rather off their menu, they are going to charge you for that packet of sauce that you get. I know, because when I would get the barbecue sauce, they charged me 40 cents for that barbecue sauce because it wasn't part of a menu that included that barbecue sauce with the chicken. You just wanted to get it for something else, 40 cents, just so you know. All right. So apparently, when he was done, uh, because he got his food, and of course, they brought it to him because of this restaurant, and they brought it to him on a tray. Okay, here's your tray. Here's your food. Tray fee was $1 for that tray that they gave him. And then he was sitting at a booth, and they charged him $1 for clean the table for the waitress who had to clean, wipe off the table at the end, charging him $1 for that. And then, oh, by the way, that booth that he was sitting in, well, you get a $3 booth fee. So there's what had happened, folks. There's the total ended up, that $22 bill had ballooned to $46.22 because they charged him for everything. I'm just surprised they didn't charge him for the air that he was breathing inside of the restaurant while he was there. Surprised about that. I'm surprised they didn't clean him to mop the floor where his feet walked. They charged him for everything else. The man was pretty indignant by the time he was done. He said, "You think I'm leaving a tip?" I don't think so. And he didn't. But there's where we're going, folks. There's what's happening in your world. Because now everything you think, well, they didn't charge for that. What if restaurants started charging you for everything? What if they did charge you like they did at this Krusty Krab down in Florida? Now, he paid the bill. He didn't leave a tip. But my guessing is that maybe the restaurant was paying a living wage to the person who was serving him, a living wage to the person who made the pizza, and a living wage to the person who took his order. Hence, they charge you for everything to make up for that cost. That's how things are going, folks. So get ready very soon. You're probably going to see the same exact receipt when that comes to your restaurant when you're finished up with your meal. You may be charged for the plate they serve it to you on, as well as the tablecloth that your plate sits on. That's what's coming, folks. Welcome to the world and welcome to reality, because now there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, the end of our 2025 summer is slowly but surely drawing to an end. Fall officially starts on September the 21st, which is a little over a month away, but with the fall comes the changing of the season. And obviously here in the Midwest, the changing of the foliage. Everything turns from green to gorgeous colors of yellow and orange and red and what have you. But that also means come December 21st, it changes from fall to winter. Winter lasts from December, January, February, and March. Well, what's winter going to be like? Well, the Farmer's Almanac has come out. And the Farmer's Almanac says it's going to be cold, icy, snowy, Arctic, going to have a bad winter, according to the Farmer's Almanac. So, if you decide to look back a little bit, clear back to 2021, we'll check some of the predictions that they've had every year since 2021 until, well, this year. Have their predictions been correct? Well, according to WISH-TV weather people, they're meteorologists, they're saying no, it hasn't been. Everything they're predicting didn't happen. Now, last year wasn't a terrible winter. I mean, yes, it's cold. It gets cold in winter. That's what winter does. We didn't have that much snow when you think about it, and the snow means water. Did we have enough water? And is our total water down as far as growing crops? Well, yeah, it is. And we're making up for it with the rain. But what kind of winter will we have this year? If you're one of those people that says, well, do I buy a snow thrower? Will we need it? Will it be like the winter of 1978? Anybody remember that blizzard of 78? Oh, man, I do, because I lived through it like everybody else did. But winter is winter. Could it be good? Could it be bad? Farmer's Almanac has made its prediction. But the weather meteorologists, the folks who know the weather better than all of us, are saying, maybe not so much. Could be warmer, could be cooler, could be more snow, could be less snow. Because the matter is, you don't really know. I mean, you can make predictions. You can say, well, we think it's going to be this, we think it's going to be that. But nobody's ever predicted it exactly right. Yes, winter could bring snow. That always happens. Winter could bring more Well, cold rain, that could happen too. But I do know this, from December 21st till March 21st, that is considered winter. We're going into it. You're going to have to live with it. We do it every single year. And every single year we seem to survive. Well, except for 1978. That was one that was very difficult to survive. But then again, you had to live through it to understand it. That's what I know. Let's see what happens with the weatherman this year.